Okay. True or false? That song should have won a Grammy.
Grammy, at least. Okay,
Absolutely.
two Grammys. So number one, the video production. Can you get a Grammy for video production, or is that an Academy Award?
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be an Academy Award, but that song
maybe a Golden Globe.
Maybe a Golden Globe.
Who knows? Who follows this shit?
Nobody follows those stupid things. But no, it should have won something for a Grammy, definitely. And there should have been a remix. I'm surprised that one of the top artists out there hasn't dropped a remix with it, and then did a collab, collaboration with these people on tour.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, guys, if you haven't checked it out, go right now onto YouTube.
Type Space
Look
People.
up Space People.
Yeah.
It was our intro song. That's what we were just singing. So you can hear the entire song if you just go to YouTube and watch this gem.
If you really want to.
This song is great.
It's amazing.
I mean, I don't understand. The guy playing the guitar on the video, is that the actual guy who made this song?
Maybe we can find out if this person here to reach out to us. Who did this? Who sang this ear orgasm of a song?
Oh, yeah.
Who put this out there?
I always get chills when I listen to it.
Oh, I do. It's like hearing
Space People.
It's like doing when you hear like patriotic songs and you hear this right here with this new Space Force. We got
we got a petition and get this as the new national anthem.
We should get it for the Space Force anthem and theme. And then on top of that, 4th of July, I'm blasting this song.
Oh, yeah,
right after Creedence and then Space People. Okay, because that's how you celebrate 4th of July.
Yeah.
Creedence, Explosives, PBR, Natty Light,
and Space People,
and Bourbon, and then Space People.
Absolutely.
Okay, right.
I think that's a good lineup right there too.
That's a good lineup.
In order of priority,
jail, but
in order of priority, or is that interchangeable?
Oh no, it's interchangeable. It's on your mood. So if you're like, say the kids are around, you don't want to see them drinking too much, so you just take shots.
Shots of White Claw?
Shots of White Claw. Oh my God! Don't even. Nope.
What are you drinking over there?
I am drinking an energy Coke.
Oh, what's the other one you have in your hand?
I have a White Claw, and I'm not even sure where these came from.
See, this is why we need a video podcast.
Yes.
Because people will see you right now double fisting
my
Coke energy drink and a White Claw, a ruby grapefruit White Claw.
Yeah, well, I didn't choose that. I mean, that's what's left.
No, I believe there's still a lime and a raspberry in
why'd you grab me a ruby grapefruit?
I don't know. I just picked one out of the fridge. Whatever.
They all taste the same.
But welcome, everybody.
Yes.
We are on episode 7. We have a very special episode here. We are kind of like what we did with the true crime.
Yes.
But for this episode, the reason we had Space People as our intro song, and the reason we're talking about this shit is we're having a paranormal episode.
Yes.
So it's going to be really cool, guys.
On two fronts, like two different types of fronts on this.
Yeah, it's not just ghosts. It's not just aliens, but it's ghosts and aliens. Well, no, it's not ghosts. Sorry. I misspoke there.
Yeah, it's mostly aliens. And then the other gentleman, it's the life and death thing. This is the conscious after death. This is the study of mediums. And he'll get into a lot of detail on that.
Yeah. Lots of detail.
And so, so we're going to touch on a few things here, and not ourselves.
At least not while recording.
I don't know.
I've done that
before. Got in trouble.
But yes, so as Ken was saying, we do have 2 interviews for you guys. One is with the ufologist, right? That's how they say the word.
Yeah. So Gufon, Gufon, and then this guy he's got his own stream. He's got a show. Yeah. And then there's MUFON. So we're gonna have to find out what the true difference is between the two.
Yes.
Okay. One is specifically what
we will
UFOs.
Yeah. You will know that answer by the time the interview is over.
Yes.
You will know the difference.
If you
between
focus
Gufon
and pay attention, you will know.
If you even care about us.
If you care.
But the ufologist that we're going to be having on is Rich Giordano. Yes. And then after that, as he touched on, is that we're having a life after death guy. We talked. This was a really interesting.
That's the way I can describe it. Is life after death. This guy really does study the end.
Yeah. He studies what happens. But not only that, not only is he studying the person who died, he studies the people who are trying to contact them through different sources, different outlets.
So he studies mediums in a scientific environment.
Yes.
That's the difference maker on this that I found out.
Okay. And him and his wife run the
Windbridge,
the Windbridge Research Center. Mm-hmm. So if you got a chance, we are going to drop all their links down in the description below. Go check it out. I mean, it's a really interesting thing.
We had zero idea going into it what it was even about. And then that we kind of jokingly said now we know this a little bit more, but we have an idea of. I guess somebody took it from studying a medium in their psychic shop, I guess, or they're on the street corner in L.A., right, downtown or whatever, where there's 30 for every block, to actually having them in a scientific study, and then they said they vetted them. You'll hear all this.
It's actually really interesting.
Yeah, they actually do the work.
Interesting conversation we had with this guy.
Yeah, it was,
and he even had that really trippy story about his mom too.
Yes.
So,
yes. So
you're not going to want to miss these interviews. You're going to find out a lot of different shit. That's why we've been wanting to do this kind of episode for a long time.
Yes.
We've been talking about it. We got to have a paranormal episode.
Yes.
We got to have one either focused on aliens or one focused on ghosts or whatever.
So
we're just going to mix it up. We're going to bring a little bit of
whole
both.
episode of it, basically.
Yeah. And then not only that, we're going to follow it up with the Florida Man paranormal. Paranormal article.
Which everything Florida Man does is paranormal, but this is specifically.
Well, that means paranormal or bath salt fused.
Remember, genetics bath salts. We've done the math. It doesn't add up. And
75% bath salt, 75% genetics.
Florida Man is 150% everything.
Top it off is that Joe Exotic lived there too.
Joe,
we miss you.
Wait, did he live in Florida? No, he was in Oklahoma.
No, he was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I said it would top it off if he did live in Florida.
If he did live in there, he would be the poster child for Florida Man.
He'd probably be governor by now.
Oh, he could be running for president. He ran for governor, remember?
Yeah. He did. And did decent. I mean, nowhere near winning, but he went like 13% or something like
it's
that,
not
which
bad.
is saying something.
About Oklahoma? If you're from Oklahoma, I'm sure you agree.
It's not like we're saying anything you haven't heard of before.
We're not insulting your ancestors down there. I promise you. You're known known for being in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you probably don't tell many people that either, too.
They might. Proud Okie. You may not want to do
How many people are just like, I am a proud Oklahoman?
I don't think I've ever met one. Does Oklahoma exist?
Oklahoma, huh?
Does Oklahoma even exist? I mean, flat Earth.
It does.
Australia
because I went to basic there.
Oh, yes,
and I can tell you exactly,
exactly
what Oklahoma is about.
Yeah, I just can't say.
If I never step foot in Oklahoma again, that's still too soon. I fucking hate it there.
Anybody out there who's been to the Fort Sill, let us know what you think of
Fort
it.
Sill is a hellhole.
It's a hellhole. Well, like I said, that Leavenworth is the second worst. Okay,
yeah,
and not Leavenworth. I'm sorry, Leonard Wood. Fort Leonard Wood is.
Yeah, that's where it went second.
That's where you went second, and that's got to be the second worst, just because it's rock country, like I said, and it's terrible. And there's ghosts everywhere. There's ghosts all over that place.
Yeah, well,
space people.
But so the question of the day, Ken, do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely, I believe.
Okay. Let's break it down. I mean, if you ask anybody on the street, do you believe in aliens? You're probably going to get like a 90% yes. But let's be specific.
Okay.
Have aliens ever visited Earth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
Okay, so you and me are both from an area, Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Right.
Okay, now this is more likely this was related to Vandenberg, but Vandenberg does some shady launches down there. We know that. The XB-37, right? And then I told you
weather satellites.
Weather. Well, it looks like a little mini shuttle with no windows, and I think it just goes up and steals satellites and then reprograms them and sends them back. I don't know, but if I said that correctly, I do apologize to the NRO if I put that out there. I'm sorry. No, so my thing is I've seen, but here in Idaho also, we see things coming from, say, Mountain Home and these other places, but these are things that are not the trajectory they take. I mean, if you ever seen enough planes fly, I've seen some things that just, I would say, are unidentified flying objects. Okay.
Sure.
Now, have I ever met a person
by the definition of the word?
By the
because you
definition
don't know
of the
what
word,
it is.
I've seen many things in the sky that are unidentifiable. Okay, and I've seen everything from F-16s flying. I've seen A-10s. I've seen all that stuff, drones, whatever. But I tell you what, there's been some things I've seen out of Vandenberg that blew my mind, and I had a witness, my wife. She was there, and she was not under the influence like I was. She's sober. She's a very sober person, and I was maybe a little baked out, whatever. But I seen some things, and what I'm saying, I seen it. And now let's talk about this. So remember, about 3 years ago, those 3 videos came out of Navy pilots chasing objects, and these were leaked about 3 years ago. I don't think they're actually blamed on Julian Assange or anything like that.
No, and you know who leaked them? who ended up
it was
leveraging
what's his name?
Tom DeLonge from Blink-182.
Huge.
He literally left the band to pursue alien intelligence, or like try to find the evidence behind it, prove it, and then he got the Pentagon to admit that these 3 videos that he found were authentic. Yeah. So the whole world needs to thank Tom DeLonge. So Tom DeLonge,
thank you.
Yeah,
and the best part is during this pandemic, that's all I'm going to say about it. During this pandemic, they released from the Pentagon the 3 unedited videos and admitted that these are what they are: unidentifiable, high-flying, quick-turning, not of any known military force, foreign or domestic. So that tells me something. Maybe that's just the visitation right there. But these could be scout ships. These could be recon, right? Yeah. They could be unmanned from another. I mean, maybe it's easier to send something unmanned 10, light years away or whatever,
right?
Than didn't actually fly down here. Because evidently, every time somebody flies here, they crash here. Because if you look at Roswell,
so they travel light years,
and then they get here, and it's either they run out of gas, they don't know how to park it, they don't know how to.
Their auto park filter doesn't work.
And that's why I've always wondered, why is it when they get here all of a sudden that they just crash into the back of some farmer's ranch? But I'm not going to discredit,
They just got to stay away from Roswell. Aliens, if you're listening, don't go to Roswell.
Do we shoot them down, or is it they come from a planet?
Doesn't matter. They crash in Roswell.
But do they come from a planet with no gravity? So they're little tiny guys. They get here, and then all of a sudden this big gravity, and that's why we're fatter people. It's because the gravity here. Earth.
Yeah, that's why you're fat.
That's why I'm fat. It's because of Earth. If I was on the moon, I'd weigh 116 pounds.
You're like, I'm 116 pounds in moon weight.
Moon weight, yeah. Not stones or whatever. But no, I believe there is. What about you? What do you think?
I believe, absolutely aliens exist. Have they been here is a little harder for me to grasp.
Okay.
Just because we have video evidence, but we have no physical evidence.
Okay.
We don't have, and the only physical evidence that may or may not exist, the government has.
Right.
With the whole Roswell crash with Area 51, whatever the hell's going on.
Multiple crashes around the world at some time or another, according to the
whatever the hell's going on. So we have no physical 100% proven evidence for them being here. With that said, I do have a story for you. I think I've told it on the podcast before, but I'll say it again. So on the 4th of July, when I was living in Denver, we had a bunch of friends over, and we were just barbecuing and shit. And then so where our house was, there was 3 fireworks shows going on at the same time. And so we got up on the roof to go watch the fireworks shows. And all of a sudden, there was just these fucking lights in the sky. We thought they were fireworks or flares or whatever. And there was just these balls of light just chilling in the sky, and started doing weird directions. There was like 3 or 4 of them. They started like darting around doing weird directions. We're like, no, that can't be it. That can't be fireworks.
It's not flares.
Well, first of all, they were flares. No, first of all, they were glowing for. I recorded this whole incident, and of the 5 minutes or whatever of my video, there were still 20 minutes out there where the lights were still on.
Yeah,
I didn't start recording right away. We were just baffled watching this, and then I got the idea, hey, I need to turn on my camera and record this. So if you guys are interested, I do have that video. Maybe I'll post it down below if you guys even give a shit about it. But
you might want to.
I do have the evidence, but I remember sitting there, and there was like 5 of us, and we're all looking at this. We're like, what the fuck is that? There's no way that that's a firework. And so there was like 5 of them in the sky, kind of doing like a bow kind of formation shape.
I remember seeing the video. Actually.
Yeah, they started darting back and forth, and then one would disappear, and then it would reappear above the other one.
Yes,
it was fucking weird.
And we know flares can't do that.
No, and I'm not saying that they're aliens or that whatever, but they are definitely UFOs by the definition. Yes, because no idea what they were. So I posted it on YouTube, and I was just like, hey, I just want to know what the hell this is. Like, who has any idea of what this could be? I'm not saying they're aliens, but I want to know, what this is, because it's baffling. People are putting on their Chinese lanterns and flares, and maybe it was the military doing drills. It's like, okay, first of all, the military is not going to do drills over a firework display on the 4th of July.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand that. You're not going to fly a multi-billion-dollar aircraft within an area of projectiles being launched off the ground.
over a very populated city.
area. Yeah, exactly.
Idiot.
Yeah, it just doesn't
Chinese
work that
lanterns float down.
Yeah, and I've also
This shit was going up, down, left, right.
never seen anybody do Chinese lanterns.
Yeah,
and
Chinese lanterns go up, right? Because they float. And it's not like the light just starts as soon as it gets to a certain elevation.
Exactly.
You would see it coming from the ground going up.
Exactly.
So it
you
couldn't
saw
be that.
a UFO.
And it's the same with flares.
Yeah.
So flare, you'd see it streaking across the sky before it stops in the air and then starts floating
or
down,
if,
right?
and if it's an auto drop from a plane, or you know,
you would see
a
that, at least
flare,
the streaks.
You would see the streaks come out, and then you would see the settle, and then the straight down drop.
Right.
So
None
remember,
of
like
that
the Phoenix
existed.
lights. It was like the Phoenix lights, which was a huge case. Which we'll have to talk to this gentleman about the Phoenix lights, because I want to hear a follow up on that. I mean, thousands of people.
The governor saw it.
The governor, yes.
The governor of Arizona.
He came out and said, "I wanted answers," and and our government was like, no." But everyone there saw a UFO by definition. So if anybody out there has seen a UFO, you can send us links.
Yeah, we want to see any of your videos that you may have, any of your stories. We want to hear about them.
Yeah, but now please, if you send, I don't want to. I don't want to be that guy. But okay, remember, there's a few things I don't like. I don't want to see videos of you at a concert. I don't want to see your iPhone or your Samsung S20 with the 44 megapixel camera taking picture of a shaky bright light in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, because no,
just don't do it.
It just don't do it.
It's not evidence enough.
Okay, and don't put the X-Files name on it, please. don't be that guy.
You believe?
All of them are going to come with the X-Files today. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But what do you guys think too? We want to hear from you. You know, what is your experience? Have you ever witnessed anything similar? Have you had any kind of experience with any paranormal activity or, you know, any kind of weird shit? Because as we said, we're going to get into the ghost thing too. So that was my next question I wanted to lead into. But before that, let us know, have aliens ever visited Earth?
Right.
And if they have, why do you think so?
Why do you think so? And give us a damn good
don't
reason
just
for it.
Say, "Oh, I watched Ancient Aliens, and you know now I'm an expert." And shit.
Right. And I
that
believe
guy
in
is
Stargates. No, that guy, he's I like
I'm not
him.
saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Yeah. No, I think we'll have to see what the people say and how many different experiences they have.
And so shifting gears a little bit, what about ghosts? Do you believe ghosts are real? Is it a real thing?
I can say I have seen more evidence of the existence of UFOs and possibly extraterrestrial life visiting this location of Earth over seeing a ghost. No, I don't really have any I don't have anything substantial that I can say is experience with the paranormal. I honestly can say I don't think I've ever seen one, witnessed one, felt one.
So are you a skeptic?
I would say yes. I am a skeptic because I'm one of those people. Even if the greatest video ever taken of a poltergeist, and you put it on the internet, because of the internet the way it is now, I'm a skeptic of everything I see on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you see the raw footage.
Well, but even is it the raw
camera.
footage? Now, even if I watched live on TV a UFO land in the White House lawn and an alien get out of it, I'm still going to question that. I'm going to wonder if I've lost my mind. Did I forget what kind of maybe medications or drugs I took?
This one?
Yeah. How does CNN twist this one? Trump fucks up and invites the wrong person to the White House? No, I'm just kidding, folks. Don't get mad at me about that. But what I'm saying, though, is like even when we watched ghost videos before, and the first thing we say is we just say glitchy nanny cams.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's a shadow thing going across. And to me, I wouldn't even wish that shit on me if I saw it. I'd be like, that's just a glitch. I don't want to know that there's a shadowy figure walking by my kid's crib.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not inviting that shit in there.
Creepy.
Right? So I would say no. I haven't seen anything that I would say, you know what, they exist.
Yeah.
No.
You know, I'm on board with you on that one too. I am way more inclined to believe that aliens are a thing rather than ghosts.
Right.
Now, I am open. I'm not closed-minded about this.
No.
I'm open to new evidence, and I'm willing to change my opinion based on the evidence presented.
Right.
And that's why talking with Mark, that kind of changed that a little bit for me.
Okay.
You know, so I have yet to see that. I'm an evidence-based guy. That's why I'm skeptic about aliens being here. Not that they exist, but that they've been here. But I'm also skeptic about ghosts as well, because I've never had an experience myself, and I just don't. too movie-like for me. You know, it's too...
But it's been around before that. The belief of that has been around before the idea of like Hollywood-style hauntings and stuff.
As long as you that people believe that there's life after death, such as like heaven or...
Then there's cultures who say that
whatever.
they're here for a bit until you do a certain thing and then they pass. They move on.
Right.
We had a great conversation with Dr. Nick Redbone a couple of months ago about his experiences in this, and he made
down in Louisiana.
Yeah, and he made a great statement too about the ideas of extraterrestrial life. The Milky Way is 100,000 light years across. Even if they are alive on the other side, have they even seen us?
Yeah,
this pale blue dot
way the hell away,
flowing through space. Because we're lucky that we can't even take images across our own Milky Way, but we can take them of everything else out there.
Yeah.
So if there is, which more likely is extraterrestrial life, have they seen us? Or are they just learning how to use an automobile type thing for the first time? Are they more advanced in this? Are they less advanced? Are they, I don't know. So
that's always been a question of mine too. And I was joking with you yesterday about it, but I'm actually kind of serious. Is that what does the life like on their planet look like? Do they go to the movies? Do they have family barbecues and shit like that? Or they're eating space fucking cows and shit?
Or are they just a giant warmongering planet, but it sounds like Earth?
Right. Do they have janitors as well as like executives?
Yeah.
They're different levels.
Yeah.
Do
Is
they have
capitalism spread across the universe?
And who are the people who actually travel? Well, the aliens who actually got on the ship and traveled here. Are they, you watch like Armageddon, for instance, and they walk down the red carpet and everybody's clapping like, oh, you're going to be gone forever. Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they having those kind of send-offs for these aliens that are coming over here to visit? Are they kissing their loved ones goodbye, never knowing if they're going to see him again?
Why couldn't it be? Why couldn't it be?
I'm saying, dude, well, if you think about it, I'm sure they are. Because if they're intelligent, that means they have emotions. Mm-hmm. So, what we experience is probably what they experience too.
And as we get
because what would happen if we sent a manned mission 2 light years out of here, or something like that?
The
of course, you're going to have the send off. Of course, you're going to have the emotions.
Because you're never going to see
the president out there, giving them a handshake and saying, to the stars and beyond and shit like that.
Yeah, we would never see that person again, even at the half the speed of light. Is going to take them 4 times the amount to get there. But a great way to look at it is the Drake equation. If people don't know that one, look that up. It talks about the possibility of how many different civilizations, the life expectancy of them. So if there's one out there that's 300,000 years older than us, just that much, they could be biomechanically like hybrids. Right?
Well, look at the technology advance that we've done in the last 100 years.
Well, the other day I saw a robot that chased down sheep from DARPA. They put it loose on the mountains and it found all the sheep and it herded them. So now Sherpas and sheep herders are out of jobs. See? Way to go, DARPA. Way to go.
Well, anyway, guys, we're going to go on a quick break, and we're going to be right back with you because we really want to get to this interview for you guys because it's great discussion. We have Rich Giordano coming on in just a few minutes. So give us a quick minute here. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with you.
Has the COVID-19 pandemic had an adverse impact on your business?
Are you ready to see customers walk back through your doors?
Here at Adulting It's Hard Productions, we understand that times are tough, and you may be struggling to keep your business afloat, and that's where we come in.
For a limited time, we are offering production services at an exceptionally discounted price. Go to www.adultingproductions.com to learn about our services and how we can help boost your brand and rebuild your client base.
Using our state-of-the-art equipment and software, we tailor your company's message and your advertising package to meet your needs. We handle the entire process from production to airing with absolute transparency.
Contact us today for your free no-obligation consultation and see why so many others have turned to Adulting is Hard Productions for their advertising needs. Simply go to www.adultingproductions.com and get your business back on track today.
Adulting is hard, and we're here to make it a little easier. And with us, possibilities are endless.
All right. Welcome back. Space people.
Space people. No,
but, you know, as much as we love that song, we actually have somebody on the line right now. I apologize, Rich, who is a UFO specialist guy. And, you know, we love that song, Space People. So we thought we would bring him on and we're going to discuss a little bit.
He's far more well-informed than we are. That's what matters.
All I know is just the YouTube videos that I comment on.
When we go down like YouTube, the rabbit hole on YouTube.
Exactly.
And we get lost in there, but we got somebody on here who's way more informed than we are about the subject.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, Rich. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's great.
Definitely. So for all of our listeners out there, can we just get a brief introduction of you and, you know, where you're from and kind of what you do?
Well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, originally from New York, moved out here a long time ago. Got into accidentally seeing UFOs, bought a recorder. Then I started a show. And for the last 16 years, I've been talking about UFOs and what's wrong and what's right with the community. Okay. That's like the shortest I can give you on 16 years.
Okay. And then we'll get into it. Since you're in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one of the things
one of the things we'll touch on is the Phoenix Lights, but that's kind of a little further down.
Which blew my mind. And then we'll get a little back history of us where we're from the Vandenberg Air Force Base. So we've seen some odd.
Well, you've seen some odd
I've
things.
seen some odd things there. Okay. All right. I know
So,
you haven't, but okay.
My question to you is, how did you get into this? Like, what made you interested in, you know, studying UFOs and really kind of diving into that?
Yeah, I've always been interested in the paranormal, but UFOs especially. It goes back since I was a kid. Oh, you know, with the Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
I'm 52, so I saw that, you know, when I was 9. So it had a huge impact on me, and I've always, you know, delved into the subject at bookstores and libraries and school if there was some books, because we didn't have the internet back then. And after the Phoenix Lights happened in 97, again, bringing that up because it is important. I didn't see them, but it did push me in a more, wow, what is really going on over my own sky, you know? So yes. I kind of looked into things here and there. Then I bought a dog in 2004 when I was married for my wife, and we sat out the first night we got him, and she looked up and saw something moving. I noticed it. The next night, I went out the same exact time and saw a very similar activity. And it wasn't satellites or anything, because these were moving and reversing and disappearing. Yeah, it was impactful enough that I went inside, went online, and looked up UFOs over Phoenix to see if anybody else was seeing it, you know, and nobody else did. And I ran into a guy who has the website UFOs over Phoenix, and wound up talking to him the next day. He got back to me. Jeff Willis is his name. And and then he told me how I should go and record stuff. And through trial and error, I managed to figure it out my own way, and which I consider the best way. And here we are, man. I built a website. I had it a while back, a YouTube channel, all that's gone. I had to start all over a few years ago. But yeah, I got the little show and talk about everything I can and meet everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, that's I would assume that's the way a lot of people are, is they have this experience and it's so powerful to them that they have to keep going on it. They have to find answers for it.
Yeah, something has to hit you deep enough to go, like you said, not satellites. It's not Tesla's or I'm sorry, Elon Musk link of broadband satellites up there now that are crowding the skies. It's
Starlink.
Starlink is seeing something that does the opposite of what would be physics, which would be an orbital travel of an object around, because we can see the International Space Station at certain times. If you go outside, you can see the path, but if you see something do something different, you really need to question and then find the answer, if you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing you can do. And in this field, do you think you're talking to a lot of people who know what they're talking about, but nobody really does? There's not a lot of people who have boots on the ground training.
Okay.
They just go on the internet and say, oh, that looks like a balloon. That looks like a plane. Oh, that's a UFO. No, it's not a UFO. You're wrong. No, it looks like a UFO. And then you try to explain to them, but if they don't understand how cameras work and lighting conditions and settings,
Okay. That kind of gives me an idea. Then, so now I take it you've gone to some of the conventions, possibly in Vegas, places like that, like some of these large conventions. Are you talking about the people on the fringe of this that say they watch a video and they say, "Oh, that's just the atmospheric lighting conditions of a faraway star that you're seeing," or that is, and they try to contradict what you're saying when this thing takes a 90-degree turn and speeds off at, beyond the speed of sound, beyond the speed of whatever it may be. So are you talking about the people on the outside of on the fringe of it, or are you talking about the people at the actual conventions that may not understand what they're seeing?
I'm talking about everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
It's everybody, man. I mean, I'm going after the Stephen Greer and Richard Dolan and Grant Cameron. And these guys say some things that they can't back up and with very little evidence. And when you look in further, you realize that, wow, man, all these guys really care about is just being seen,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask about a Stephen Greer type. I know I've seen enough of those, what you talk about, the Stephen Greer episodes. The man's a known physicist, right? I think, or engineer. And he's been pretty much on the forefront of disclosure. At least on the television set. So you feel that this man is more maybe about TV representation and not so much about facts.
Now, when he first started in 2000 or 1998, somewhere around there, when he got the Disclosure Project, no, I think that was 2001, when he got that going, all right, the guy was good. He was bringing out new information. Things him and Stephen Bassett were doing were incredible at the time, but they kept making claims that never happened. Disclosure is going to happen in 04, 05, yes. 07. And then they said, all right, we're never going to say that again. And now it's switched where Greer is just about making documentaries every 2 or 3 years, repeating what we saw in the last 2 or 3 years. So he's not bringing anything new. It's a new documentary, but that's it.
Okay, fair enough. I get that.
I
get that. No, and that's fine. And this is great to hear different, because what I see and what and I've, even so much as I told Kyle, I got lost in Nevada one time. I found the extraterrestrial highway. I found the little alien, the things that you see on TV, and I found the west gate of Area 51. Did it explain anything to me? Absolutely not. Okay, but what I'm saying is I see Richard Greer, and there's another gentleman with the gray incident. He had I want to say passed away during the 80s. He had he did what they call dumb, deep underground military bases, things like that.
Oh, Phil Schneider.
Okay, yeah. So these are the people I know of the community.
Sure.
But your part, are you discrediting, or are you trying to challenge what people are saying, or are you trying to show actual empirical evidence in a way?
Well, that's the whole thing. Nobody really has any empirical evidence.
Okay.
And, Stephen Greer is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. It's just, I have a problem when people make such great claims, ask for money, and then tell you you're going to make contact with aliens. Come on now. I mean, that's a tough pill for me to swallow, because I've been trying to talk to these aliens for 16 years, 15 years.
Okay.
With meditation, doing it before Greer was popular with doing it. So for me, it doesn't work. And I'm very open-minded, and I'm very, I have very good critical thinking skills. So that's where so does Greer. Yeah. It's just, I know Greer's got the name. He got popular back in 2000 because of Disclosure. So he's using that to his advantage, and he's very smart. A lot of things he says could be real, but I'm just not seeing it.
Okay. Sure. All right. Kyle.
So you tend to side more on the skeptic side rather than the quick to believe.
I go to the realistic side.
Okay,
yeah, they're skeptical, if you want to say that, but I need proof. And being in this field, when I first started out, I went down the rabbit hole, like you guys were saying earlier. And, it ends with me when I see the dollars. As soon as I see money, then I know this person is about money. Not all the time, but come on, it really is.
They're making a living by making appearances.
And what happens if Greer doesn't make a movie in 3 to 5 years? Then what? He's got to write a book. If he doesn't do that, then
or
what?
It's about relevancy.
Right. And
I don't know if I sound like I'm coming off as a jerk, but I really just want honest to goodness research being done, and it's getting mixed in with, a lot of shenanigans.
Sure.
Okay.
And so you were speaking on, truth and the facts to it. So that kind of brings me to what the Pentagon had confirmed. So, as a lot of people are aware, which not really actually, because of the whole COVID-19 thing, when the Pentagon came out and confirmed that 3 Navy UFO videos were authentic, which were actually uncovered by frontman Tom DeLonge of Blink-182, who left the band to specifically pursue the truth about UFOs. So he released these 3 videos, and the Pentagon was forced to come out and say, yeah, actually, they are authentic.
Were unedited. They said
raw,
these are the true
these
videos.
Are Navy pilots.
What do you think of that during the timing? I mean,
well, they are edited videos. Because,
they are.
Yeah, because there was they're twice as long apparently when the videos we see are with the FLIR camera, forward-looking infrared, right? Before that camera was turned on, they had a regular camera on. Ooh. And that's what we don't see. The details. FLIR takes away all your details. Yeah, so all you see is heat signature. Yeah. Thank you very much for admitting that these dots on the screen are UFOs. Appreciate absolutely no effort to give us detail.
Okay, so now is there any way out there that were they published the original unedited?
No.
That showed, okay.
Neither has the radar footage. All the good evidence is tucked away.
Okay, fair enough. Now, do you feel that was a pretty good? Was that a step in the right direction, even though they did it during COVID?
No.
With it, okay.
So you don't think it doesn't really bring anything to the table as far as pointing out that these might be real, this is authentic, or any kind of proof whatsoever. In your perspective, it doesn't do much?
Well, the only reason it doesn't do much is earlier, maybe a year or so earlier, they had already admitted that they're going to take pilots' accounts more seriously.
Okay.
And so if they're doing that and allowing pilots to fly these F-18s or whatever, if they're allowed to report UFOs and they're admitting that, then of course it's easy for them to say, all right, those 3 are real UFOs. So you got us. All right. You don't see anything. You don't know if we're lying, but we'll just say it just to get this over with. That's kind of what I feel.
Because I saw a quote from the Pentagon itself that stated that these are not of either foreign or domestic capabilities. They said that, but the timing was in the middle of a pandemic, and everyone goes, "I'm not worried about UFOs right now. I'm worried about the guy coughing in the vegetable aisle at the grocery store, right, and giving me something." So we were just curious about that because I was impressed. I was like, "Hey, they finally published something outside of a top secret program that gets unearthed by somebody that they said these are real." But unfortunately, their timing is shit.
Yeah, maybe. But if you think about it, if they did that during the shutdown, most people are at home looking at their screens. And I don't know. I thought it was okay. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. It would have gotten the same amount of, airtime as it would have if we were not in this pandemic.
That's fair.
Yeah, well, the reason why I say that because the only thing that I think they got more airtime during this last month was when someone wrote a fake article that NASA scientists had found a parallel universe that time runs backwards.
Yeah.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, the neutrino thing. Yeah,
the neutrino thing, and then that actually got people I had people going, "Did you know that they found a parallel universe?" No, you read that is incorrect. It did not. They found a sweeping neutrino motion. It has nothing to do with that, but I'm off the track a little bit. That's what I do. I'm just saying.
No, that's what we talk about, man.
Yeah.
All sorts of anomalies.
Yeah.
So another thing is that, I don't, as far as you being skeptic or more search for the truth rather than just jumping on. Yes. Do you think that aliens actually have visited this planet? And if so, have we ever obtained any of their technology, or what kind of technologies can we maybe gather from
mimic
visitors?
Reverse engineer?
Well, I got to tell you, I think the aliens have been here for a super long time.
Okay.
And I happen to believe that they either live on the moon or in the oceans or under it or whatever, or in Antarctica, places we don't get to. Technology wise, I got to be honest with you. until I see a hoverboard or something that I could use, I really don't know if we've seen any alien technology. And you want to go back to where, way back when they were talking about lasers and Kevlar vests, because those were the clothing that the aliens wore. No, we already had that stuff in the make. So I don't see any alien technology in our presence. Do you?
Well, okay. So, we go back to the story of Roswell. We'll go with Roswell. Okay, even though there's a number of other issues, either meteorite strikes, things like that. So from there, they said within almost a 3-decade period, we saw a huge explosion in technology. Everything from microprocessors, the shrinking of technology. The space race happened in the 60s, which now we have a hard time making sure we can get a rocket off the ground safely. But so I just see some of these things. The Antarctica deal, I can't remember the captain who went out there. I've seen
Buzz Aldrin went out there.
Which one?
Buzz Aldrin.
Okay. And I've seen images from Google where it looks like large tunneling systems in Antarctica, but again, we're looking at permafrost melting. We don't know. So I would say, and we've asked this before, my personal opinion is the Milky Way is 100,000 light years across. If they spotted us, maybe they did. But then again, our radio signals have been traveling for decades. Maybe they did, and maybe they've traveled. But I kind of always joke that when a UFO shows up here, is it because we have different gravity than somebody else? Why does it crash?
I can tell you why. Somebody brought that up the other night, and I couldn't believe it. And you'd have to really suspend your disbelief to believe this theory, but it would make sense. Well, according to somebody I spoke to the other night, there's a war happening beyond the moon. It's hard for us to see this alien war that's going on. And those ships that you see crashing in, well, supposedly have been crashing or not seen, they were damaged and landed on Earth, or crash landed here on Earth because they got damaged in this war.
I have never heard that.
That's an
Me neither.
Take.
I had not heard that version. Now the dark side of the moon is now going to start being explored. Are you expecting anything? The reason why I say this is because these are going to be nationally broadcast things, and when you have 8.5 billion people on the planet with 13 nations involved in the space program, at least 13. What do you want to call it?
Nations.
Well, nations, but what I'm saying, ones that with space programs.
Yeah.
Beyond that part, sooner or later, someone's got to say, "I've seen something." Okay, on the dark side of the moon, there's something. There's something going on with that. So, are you thinking that maybe as we explore that side, China's dropping lunar rovers and devices? Do you think that we'll start seeing something?
I tell you, all the nations, if there is an alien, if they're working with governments, let's imagine they are, and they have been, supposedly they signed a treaty with us in the 50s, which ends next month, but neither here nor there.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. No, we're never going to see anything because they won't allow it. That's my point, is that they agreed that if anything's seen, to not show it publicly until we understand it. I think they already know.
So the answer is until we understand origins, intentions, or
what we're looking at.
Okay.
If it's ancient structures or a hole in the ground, or if they see something flying around, I don't think we're going to see it. I think it's going to be time delayed by a minute, maybe 2. So.
Okay. I wonder if it's going to take a craft landing on the White House lawn, national TV, and somebody steps out. Even then, I told Kyle I would probably still doubt it because the internet, I just don't trust. I don't trust videos I see on there. I would be like, they faked it for the election.
Yeah.
Not for truth, but they faked it for the election.
That's funny. Probably.
So, kind of shifting gears here, do you believe that abductions are a real thing?
Yeah. Wow. Some people are going to get mad, and I think it's some sort of thing that happens in your brain when you're sleeping. I don't know if people are being taken out of their rooms. Maybe if it is a real thing, how can millions of people actually experience it? Well, I don't know our anatomy. I don't know the way the brain works, but I think it has to do something with the I don't know, the defragging of our brain when we sleep, maybe, or maybe
Okay.
we go into dream world, and dream world is another reality, or quote unquote reality. You know, who knows where we come from? What is the soul? You know, are we put into our bodies when we have a heart and a brain formed in the womb, and then we just gestate and become a human, but we're actually an alien inside this little avatar? You know, you could think of a million different things, and nobody knows.
I agree. And I honestly, sometimes I believe it's sleep paralysis, which is a known sleep disorder, to where you feel there's a presence in the room. If anybody ever researches that, you believe there's somebody there. I think maybe it could tie into that. We got guys like Elon Musk who think that we're in a matrix type simulation. If that's true, whoever's in charge of my avatar, you're a dick. Okay?
Right.
You're a dick, because I should have been rich by now. I should be famous. Okay. Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, there's so many different ways to go about that subject. You're absolutely right.
But as far as abductions, I've never been abducted that I know of, but I've had some dreams where, well, I'm calling them dreams, where I woke up and there was something in the room and I looked at it. And how do you dismiss that? Yeah, it was a weird time in my life. And for that to happen when it did, it couldn't have happened at any other time, which is very strange about being pulled into this field. You hear it a lot. I don't know, but it couldn't have happened at another time in my life. It's just weird. It's too coincidental. What, you know, has this been going on my whole life? People come up with all these ideas of why they're in this field. And some of us just don't know. Some of us do know. It's a very odd field to be in.
So different ways of being drawn into it. I got you. Okay.
It couldn't have happened to me at any other time in my life. Either I was too young and too busy, or like if it would have happened now, I wouldn't have cared. So the time when it happened, it was just a bunch of things that just added up, and went outside and saw what we saw.
So the skeptic in me about the abductions comes out when it's, you know, these people who seem to be abducted are either they're already so far out there where they're just, you know, aliens exist and they are on the hard line
culturally and their location.
Well, either that or they're just already sucked in. They're down the rabbit hole where they're believing every single UFO video they're reading every single book out there. I mean, they're just fully invested in it. And then they're claiming, you don't see a lot of people who are just completely normal. They're absolute skeptics. Where it's somebody who's like, I don't believe in aliens, but then I got abducted and all of a sudden, you know, now I believe. You don't see that. The people that you're seeing coming out claiming abductions are people who are already fully vested in the idea that abductions happen.
So that's the thing. These people have a story, and they have maybe I don't know, they found a way to get talked to or talked about or whatever it is. They got popular. But there are plenty of people, doctors and EMT guys, not Dr. Greer, but, you know, lawyers, all sorts of people have come out with stories of being abducted. I just met a bunch of people I never thought would have even liked the subject, who have been having lifelong experiences, but they don't talk about it.
Okay. And I think it was Betty and, is it Betty and Frank? What's that?
Betty and Barney Hill?
Is that the ones in the 50s? They had the abduction with the time loss.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes back to a couple off of a farm. Mm-hmm. And I get what you're saying, because Dr. Greer, though, even a well-known, very intelligent man, more likely stable, like you said, now he is, I think the ego's gotten involved.
Sure.
Yeah, and instead of being analytical, objective, he's kind of run with it.
At this point, he's changed his ways, and that happens. You know,
you get enough episodes on Ancient Aliens. I mean, you start, what's that name of the doctor? My favorite guy with the hair.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's
Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Yeah, I love his hair. I just gotta say,
he's out there, man.
He is, but he seems like
a good guy.
He's a good guy. There you go. Yeah.
But I do want to get into the meat of this, as we've kind of teased all along. What is your thoughts about the Phoenix Lights?
Yes.
What have you discovered about it? What do you believe it was, and all that good stuff?
An awful lot. I know an awful lot about it. Like I said, I didn't see him in 97, but I've been to just about every anniversary showing of the documentary here in Scottsdale, Arizona, because Dr. Lynn Kitai is the one who took the photos that made the documentary, and there we go. But there was 2 events that happened that night. And a lot of people don't talk about the one that happened between 8 and 8:30, where a 1 mile to 2 mile wide craft came all the way down here from all the way up from Kingman, Arizona, all the way through Page, Payson, and flew right over the city around 8:15, 8:20. And then it went south over the mountains. Some people say it went towards Tucson, another 100 miles away. Well, 10 o'clock, I guess a lot of reports came in. So at 10 o'clock, the Maryland bombers, or whatever they're called, released flares, which is the video that you've all seen. And those were a distraction because of all the people that called in from the 8 o'clock sighting. So they did a really good job at tricking everybody. Now, a lot of people think that that's the actual UFO. Heck, it might be, but there's so many different ways to analyze that footage that nobody knows anymore. I believe it's flares. Some people would say, well, they form a straight line. No, they really don't. Though you would see smoke trails. No, you wouldn't see smoke trails because it's 30 miles away. So a lot of people don't understand that. And that's what's going on. Even the governor said he saw it, and he lied about seeing it, which is an interesting story in itself. So there's a lot of people trying to stake claim to what they saw that night, and there really was a sighting.
So your belief is there was a sighting, and then there's a lot of bandwagon to it, and then there was a scrambling of jets.
Yeah, there was a scramble from Luke Air Force Base.
Do I have time to tell them about Vandenberg? Are you sure? I just want to tell them about Vandenberg.
Well,
what's that?
Go ahead.
So we grew up next to Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is on the West Coast. And one night in my backyard, and my wife had seen this also, when you see something from the distance, I've learned when I was overseas too, when you see something from the distance and stars disappear behind it, you know an object is moving towards you. Okay. And one night we were in the backyard and just looking up, and I couldn't tell you the shape of this, but I could tell you that the size of it was too large to be too quiet. Okay, and Vandenberg's known for launching like the XB-37, some kind of different crafts, but this was heading towards Arizona. This is after 97. This is in mid-2000s, and it went by, and I've seen many of aircraft in the skies, but this is something that was, I wouldn't say triangular shape, I wouldn't say shape like a pentagon, whatever it was. It was too large to be that quiet. But my wife had saw it too, so it wasn't just me. And Kyle knows my wife; she's not, one to just make something like it. But I seen something very large in the sky. I mean, it blacked out stars and patterns that are there for decades. And this thing was heading towards Arizona. So I'm going to say that was the one time I seen something. But now again, we're looking at Vandenberg Air Force Base, which it could have been a craft from there. I don't know, but this thing was huge.
Should have heard it.
Yeah, and I didn't. That was the thing. It just went by, and this was a bright sky, or no light pollution. Stars are out. It just took up space, and that was awesome. That was the thing I saw. And of course, all I did was grab binoculars when I first saw it, just to try and get an idea. But at night, you're not going to see much. But this thing wasn't well lit up, but it was very large, and it took out what I should have seen normally behind it. Just going to put that out there. Large craft.
They're out there.
They
sure. Whether they're ours or not, I don't know. But some people say that that's our craft that we're seeing, and they're just testing them out. You mean really? And what if it malfunctions and crashes into a building?
Oh,
seriously?
If that thing did, it would have took out a whole block. That thing was freaking huge.
Wild.
So what do you think that the Phoenix lights were?
Yeah.
Like if you were to bet the farm on it, what would you say that they were?
If I was to bet the farm, man,
you got to put something on it.
Because I don't know of any other technology that could actually cloak itself and fly silently over 10,000 to 100,000 people, I would have to say it's some sort of alien technology or tech that we don't understand. But then why fly it over a very popular city? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I believe it is. I think it's our friends just checking in on us and didn't think they were going to be seen, I guess. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Maybe they understand the psychology of humans enough to know that we would doubt anything that we see in front of us, or there's enough of us that would challenge other people who have seen it.
The funny thing is, it was flying directly to a mountain that we have out here called the Estrella Mountains, which means Star Mountain, because the indigenous Indians that were here are still here. They put petroglyphs on the rocks that actually look like the triangular or boomerang shaped craft that people saw. It's very interesting.
I love it.
So
yeah.
I have another just side question here, is that how come, if the aliens and the UFOs have come here, how come they haven't made their presence well known? How come they haven't come out, as Ken said, landed on the White House and walked out and said, here we are?
Imagine going in the ocean. We talked about this the other night. We don't know that much about what's in our oceans, maybe 5-6%, right? There was a video we were watching of this huge, I don't even know what to call it. It was the biggest blob of what looked like half manta ray, half jellyfish. How are you going to talk to something like that? How do you communicate with something like that? Okay. I think it's possible that they could either be really advanced beings that we wouldn't understand it if we tried. Excuse me. So I think that might be the problem. It's like, if they show themselves, it could show that they're powerful by accident, just by if they showed up on the White House lawn. We could take it as a threat. They might understand that. I don't think they're going to come over here without sending out drones and understanding the culture of this planet. So if they're just coming by visiting, they would analyze us first and figure us out. Are we approachable? Probably not. Not with the weapons we have and the way we react with each other.
Right. And I think, honestly, the psychological impact of it you would destroy organized religion.
Yeah.
It would just be devastating to people who I think are still in doubt, thinking that we are the one intelligent species in the universe, which I think is absolutely selfish and asinine to think. And I think really it would just destroy the psyche of people who believe that we are the one creation, whatever it may be. And then, of course, if you watch enough Hollywood movies, we'd all run around looting and do whatever.
I think so. I think we're not even close to ready.
No,
disclosure.
Okay, fair enough.
Not even close.
For disclosure, we're not ready yet, and I really do hope in our lifetime we find either microbial life, whether it be Enceladus, or how, I can't remember the name of the moon, Mars, whatever it may be. I hope we find something that just kind of eases people into an idea.
Yeah, and I think we already have a feeling there's life out there somewhere, microbial anyway.
Yeah, deep down, I think
absolutely
we can't be that foolish.
So, kind of last question here is, what are some of the personal experiences that you've had? I know you talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but outside of that, have you had any other personal experiences that kind of really shine a light on this for you?
Wow. I would have to go back to the night, the week, I should say, where I woke up to having pain in my ear. And when I opened up my eyes, I saw on the headboard and the wall a bluish beam of light. And I say beam because out of the corner of my eye, when I opened my eyes, I saw something, what looked like it lifted up like off of me, because I could hear this tone. That's what woke me up, was this loud tone in my ear. And when I turned around, I saw a silly looking 3.5 foot tall alien with a laser going back, or a light going into his left hand. I looked at my wife and my dog to see if they were looking at this with me, if they saw it. By the time I turned around, it was gone. 3 nights later, there's more to this story. 3 nights later, I wake up with pain in my other ear, and I open up my eyes and I felt somebody's mouth, like when somebody whispers in your ear, you could feel their breath. Somebody said in a very weird voice, "I'll be in your head before you wake up." And when I imitated the voice from my wife, I said, "Oh my God, it sounds just like me." Now that's weird. "I'll be in your head before you wake up." What were they doing? That's the only time I've ever had experiences like that. So if you want to say I had an experience, that's it. Now, I don't know if I was dreaming, but it didn't feel like it.
Well, and then, like you said, if it's your voice, maybe that's their way of figuring they can communicate, because they can't do it in their, say, own native language, so they copy what you have in your conscious or your subconscious while you're sleeping.
Yeah, but I sound like this. It sounded like, I'll be in your head before you wake up.
Oh, wow, man. That's almost, that scared the shit out of me.
I don't think they would want to come in my head. They're not going to like
they don't want to be in my head. The aliens would be like, just, no, we're not going down there.
Yeah,
not with this guy.
Forever.
Well, what if it's me checking up on me?
There you go, right? You're a little wellness check, right?
But you see see, with that story, I could write a book, make a movie. Forget it. The possibilities
are endless.
That's how things happen, I think, with Greer and other people. They have these dreams, and they make them real.
Well, I think they also, maybe they start out a little bit small time, and then personality wise and whatever it may be, someone says, we're going to get you on a network TV show. and you got to give him something to put out there. And I can't discredit the man. I've never met him. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. He's not a bad guy.
Well, anyway, Rich, we really want to thank you for coming on. Great conversation. We love talking this subject. We talk about it all the time. We're always debating and such. So it was great to have you on and kind of get your thoughts and inputs and more professional
something
research
we don't know.
Goes yeah, exactly. So we want to thank you for coming on. So where can people find you?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, I'm on YouTube, so you can go to GUFON Radio Stream. That's GUFON Radio Stream. You could just type in GUFON, and I'm pretty much on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also on, you can go to the website at gufon.net and become a member of the free network. It's you get your own page. It's like your own site if you want to interact with people. And we call it Gufonia or Gufonville. So you can become part of the network that way. And on Twitter, Gufon Network, and Facebook. Okay.
Well, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Rich, for joining us. And everybody else, just hang in there. We're going to be back with Mark Boccuzzi, who is a Windbridge Research Center guy. Boccuzzi.
Boccuzzi? Okay,
yes, I get it right.
Sorry.
But anyway, guys, stick by. We're going to be right back. Giordano for coming on to our show and talking to us about UFOs and aliens, the subject that Ken and I debate quite often. Rich is very experienced in his field and has extensive knowledge on everything extraterrestrial. You can find Rich on Twitter at Gufon Radio and on YouTube at Gufon, where he has 3 live shows a week. Give him a like and subscribe. Hang in there, because next we have Mark Boccuzzi joining us for a paranormal talk. You're not going to want to miss this. All right, guys, welcome back from the break. Hope you had enough time to do whatever you need to do, because you're going to want to sit down and listen to this whole interview, because on the line we have Mark Boccuzzi, right? Boccuzzi. I practiced that name before and I still messed it up. But he's a parapsychologist who studies life, death, and what happens afterwards. So it's extremely fascinating subject that, a lot of people tend not to think about. People tend, because it's a scary thing to kind of think about, is, the end of your life. So having you on it's awesome, because we know very little to absolutely nothing about this subject. About this bunch, yeah. So we're hoping you could shed some light on it. So, Mark, for our listeners, can you just give a little introduction about yourself? What you do, like your company that you manage, own, run, whatever you want to say, and then how you get started on this kind of thing.
Sure. Well, first, thanks again for having me on. So my name is Mark Boccuzzi, and I am the executive director and co-founder of the Windbridge Research Center. We're a 501c3 nonprofit based in Tucson, Arizona, and we study dying, death, and what comes next. And basically what that means is that we conduct scientific research and produce free educational materials where we look at aspects of the transition from the living to dying. So what the dying process is like and how people might avoid fear of death or death anxiety. And then we also study one of the most fundamental questions that people seem to ask, which is, what happens to us when we die? And we look at that question through a number of different lenses. And one of our main research focus right now is through the study of mediums. And mediums are people who report regular communication with the deceased. And so when someone loses someone, or when someone loses someone and they want to make a connection or have a conversation or receive messages from the departed individual, they would set up a meeting with a medium and receive messages. And we study that process. We study mediumship. We study the effects of mediumship on the grieving. And we also study mediums and how they do what they do, and can they do what they do, what they claim they do, and those kinds of things.
Okay, so not so much in a sense to debunk, or to prove, but to see the process of it is a positive effect on a person who gets to hear from a past one that's grieving, or is unfortunately maybe somebody who is playing on the emotions of somebody. So not so much, like you said, not debunking, just kind of seeing what's going on there.
Yeah, exactly. What we know is that, so mediumship is clearly a controversial topic,
yes,
right? And so everyone from my next door neighbor to John Oliver will have a strong opinion one way or another on the validity of mediumship and the validity of mediums and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, at the end of the day, there are people right now who are grieving the loss of a loved one and who are seeking out mediums for help. And that process alone is enough to warrant serious scientific investigation of the topic.
Okay.
So that's what we do. And we look at a wide range of things around mediumship. We look at mediumship accuracy. We look at their experiences. We look at their psychophysiology. We look at their phenomenology, again, experiences. And we also focus on the effects of mediumship on sitters for the grief. Is mediumship a potential therapeutic intervention for people suffering from traumatic grief?
Now, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I was going to ask because it's such a fascinating and almost like it's a niche for people. So how did you get involved in this? How did you get started? Was it something like as a kid you were just super fascinated with it and you just kind of wanted to direct your career in that way? Or is it something that just kind of came about at some point in your life and you're just like, you know what, this will be like something that would be really awesome to study?
All those things. So basically, so as a kid, I was fascinated with this stuff. I loved Scooby-Doo and ghost hunting shows and, In Search of and all that stuff. And I read all these books on UFOs and Bigfoot and ghosts, and I loved it. I loved it all this sort of paranormal, I'm using the word paranormal in finger quotes, topics. I loved them as a kid. And as I got older, I even thought, maybe parapsychology might be something to study in school or consider as a career option. And I looked into it. And one of the things that became very obvious very quickly, even back in the 80s when I was starting to think about going to college, the early 80s, was there aren't a lot of labs in the U.S. that are conducting parapsychology research. Funding is very difficult to get. So I thought I would go a different direction. So I ended up studying forestry for a while, and then ended up studying computer science.
Okay.
And I ended up getting my degree in computer science. And then I ended up moving to Northern California. And I worked in the computer game industry for a long time. I was a producer and executive producer and a programmer.
That's where I'm at right there.
Oh,
yeah, it was fun.
Happy with video games.
Yep. I'm 45. I still play them every day.
Nice. Yeah, so do I, unfortunately. So much work to do. But yeah, but through all that stuff, through all my regular career and day job, I was always sort of kept my finger on what was happening in the parapsychological field, in the research. I was getting journals. I was signing up for, the internet was starting to emerge back then. So I was able to keep my finger on the pulse of what different organizations were doing, like the Parapsychology Foundation, the Parapsychological Association, and all these other groups that were the professional organizations for parapsychologists. The Rhine Research Center, based in Durham, North Carolina, has been a mainstay in parapsychology for many years. And they used to run a program called this Parapsychology Summer Study Program. And I've always wanted to do it. And I was like, I really want to do this thing. And one year they actually had it in Northern California where I was living. And I was like, I have to go. It's right down the street. So I took 2 weeks off from my job. And I'm like, I'm going to go headlong into this 2-week immersive parapsychology study program. And while I was there, I met a bunch of people, but the majority of them weren't really interested in this life after death stuff that I was interested in. Okay. They were more interested in things like telepathy and clairvoyance and the other aspects of parapsychology, which I have a fascination with as well. And I actually do research in those areas as well. But I found a small group of people that were really interested in what we call post-mortem survival or life after death research. And I sort of glommed onto them. And one of the people I met was Julie Beischel, who was doing her postdoc at the University of Arizona studying mediums. And after this 2-week program was over, we went our separate ways, but Julie and I kept in touch, and one thing led to another. And a year later, I moved out to Arizona from San Francisco and took a job at the University of Arizona studying consciousness and health, and assisting Julie in her mediumship research. Julie and I then got married, and her postdoc finished. And we were like, well, what do you want to do? Do you still want to continue to study mediums? And she was like, yeah, there's a lot of really cool, interesting questions. And I'm like, I'm on board with that. So we launched the Windbridge Institute in 2008, which is still in existence. It's a company. It's a LLC that my wife and Julie and I got married. I don't know if I said that part, but we got married, and we formed the Institute, and we use that as a platform to conduct different kinds of research and continue her mediumship research. And that was rolling along until about 2017, when the Institute was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we were doing too many things. And we decided to split out the afterlife research from the other parapsychological studies like telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, that kind of stuff. And so in 2017, Julie and I launched the nonprofit Windbridge Research Center, which is studies dying, death, and what comes next, and is the home of our mediumship and afterlife research. So yeah, I've always been fascinated with this stuff. My career sort of took all these really strange little twists and turns, and doing project management in different places and working with scientists and working with engineers, and dropped me into a university research setting, which then gave me more background, which gave me the confidence, stupidity to go out on my own and start our own research center. And kind of here we are today.
Right on.
Awesome.
So that was probably way too much information.
No, that was fine. It's a great background on it, and I know that even from the 60s and 70s, we know that the CIA dabbled in telepathy programs to a point where they believed in it enough that they thought there was something to it. And then just the other day, I read an article that talked about it. Straight up, it said that when you pass or you die, your brain stays conscious long enough to let you know you're dying or you're dead. And I thought that scared me. I'm not gonna lie, that scared me. I couldn't imagine that being.
That's interesting to me. Why does that scare you?
I think it's a control issue. It's the what they call FOMO, or the fear of missing out. I don't want things to end. You get what I mean? And I just think if it's going to happen, and I've served. I've been overseas, a couple tours. If it's going to happen, it happens like that. That's how I'd want it. But to know everything else is shut down and your mind's going, okay, this is it. I think I'd be terrified. I can't say for sure, but it scared the heck out of me reading it. And I just thought it was different to think that what's going on, and it's just like counting down. Right?
and that's the interesting bit, right? Like, people always say, oh, when I die, I want to die in peace, I want to be quick, I want to be at my home. That's not the way the majority of people die. No. Not to sound too gruesome about it, but the majority of people die in hospitals or hospice, and sometimes their families are there, sometimes they're not, and so as a society, it's my position and our position at the center that we need to get people ready for that experience, right? It shouldn't be scary. I mean, it should be a little scary, right? We're never going to be like, oh, don't be scared. But there are things that people can do to prepare themselves for that event. And once you become comfortable with the idea of your own death, it actually ripples through how you live your life. And so there's a whole area of research called terror management theory. And this is something we're interested in, but so we're dabbling in this area as well, of death anxiety. And what we found, what's been found in the literature, we haven't found this explicitly, but anyway, there's other people that are researching this. But when people are afraid or reminded of their own mortality, they tend to want to inflict, for lack of a better term, their belief systems onto others. And so totalitarianism can arise, and the need to subjugate the other, and all these sort of terrible social constructs come up. Because people need to feel that by enforcing their belief systems on others, that part of them will somehow survive their death. So
North Korea's Kim Jong, the three gods, the family, their propaganda, almost that they're not forgotten after their death.
Yeah, I can't speak to that specifically, but that sounds very much, yeah. So if we can, as a society, get a better handle on our feelings around death, the death anxiety, acknowledge that death is a natural part of our existence, that no one gets out of here alive, right? That we may end up, and this may sound a little hippie or whatever, but having a more compassionate and aware society probably wouldn't be a bad thing.
Basically knowing it's inevitable. It's just it's something that's going to happen. But you were going to ask a question? I thought I saw you.
Yeah. Well. Okay. As you were kind of explaining all that, I just had a question that I kind of want a little clarity on it. So your work, are you focusing more on the person that passes and their soul and their consciousness, or are you focused more on the living and how they're going through the grieving process, such as going through a medium, and are they getting consoled and comfort from that?
Sort of everything. We're looking at all those pieces. So the piece where we look at the people that are grieving and the experiences of the medium and the abilities of the medium are actually, from a methodological perspective, are actually fairly easy things to study. When you start talking about what happens after we die, that becomes a little trickier. And we are actually trying to explore that, but we're doing it in ways that are even more controversial than even talking about mediums. So, for example, so you had mentioned a program with the CIA. One of the early programs that the military used was called Stargate, and it was actually a process known as remote viewing. And so the idea would they would get these people called viewers, and they wouldn't tell them much about what they were doing, but they would give them a number, and they would say, this is your target, and this is your target ID. And the viewer was then asked to get as much information as they could about the target that this number represented. And they were actually pretty good at it.
Yeah, I saw they were pretty accurate. Some of them were pretty scarily
accurate. So that's a whole process called remote viewing.
Yeah.
And what's cool about the remote viewing protocol is that from a research perspective, it's what we call blinded, right? So there's a segmentation of information. So the viewer doesn't actually know what they're viewing. They only have access to the target code, and then the people that judge only have certain kinds of information, and so on and so on. So you're able to say, you've heard of like double blind randomized trials for like drug trials and things like that. So you were able to incorporate various levels of blinding to minimize the possibility of information leakage, so that what we're looking at actually is a quote unquote paranormal event that's taking place, or an anomalous information transfer. And so we've been using a similar technique it's called controlled remote viewing, to view the afterlife. And if you think asking remote viewers to view what our enemies are doing is controversial, imagine the pushback on asking them to view dead people. But anyway, but the results have been really interesting so far. We have a study going on right now that's looking at that. And so people are reporting being able to encounter the deceased person, and providing some interesting information about what they're doing and what they look like and what the afterlife looks like and all that kind of stuff. And this is all done through these sort of blinded protocols. A lot of people say to us, well, why don't you just ask the medium what the afterlife is like? Or why don't you ask the medium about this famous person or that famous person? I mean, we can do that, but the problem is mediums are people. And I know that sounds terrible. And they have their own bias, and they have their own filters, and they have their own cultural background and traditions, right? So it becomes really difficult to tease apart those sorts of things from the experience versus the filter, right? Where if we just focus, when we work with mediums, if we just focus on verifying the accuracy of the information they report about a dead person, a deceased person, that removes that minimizes the opportunity for that, what we call analytical overlay from the medium, right? We can just look at the information itself and get it verified from the sitter. How did that person die? What did they look like? What were their hobbies in life? Those kinds of things.
Okay, so verifiable, but not where they do it vaguely.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got you. Okay.
Yeah, they can't just say
they can't just say, well, he wore a plaid shirt, and it was a lumberjack, and it was and because he lived in the Pacific Northwest, and
because definitely in your industry, you got to be able to sift through the people who are just trying to be out there and make a buck.
Oh yeah.
From people who are actually,
capable of something.
Yeah, capable of doing that. Who have the ability or the gift, or whatever you like to call it. Because there are people out there who want to take advantage of emotionally unstable and vulnerable people.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's true in any industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely a buyer's beware sort of thing, and it's a serious question about mediumship and fraudulent mediums and people that have no ability, that that are in it just to defraud or take advantage of the grieving or the vulnerable. And those people are terrible and we hate them. But,
as do everybody else. I'm pretty.
Yeah.
I just picture Miss Cleo on TV commercials at night. Remember her, the Jamaican lady?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of her. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So it's, we have to be careful. So when we do our studies, what we've done is we actually, when we first started the Institute and now the center, we put out a call for mediums that wanted to see who wanted to apply to be part of our research team. And so hundreds of mediums contacted us, and we have an 8-step training and screening process that all the mediums had to go through to be considered part of our team. And we now have a stable of about 18 or 19 mediums that we use on a regular basis, but all these mediums have demonstrated their ability to follow directions, which is very important
there you go.
When you're conducting a research study, and to provide accurate and specific information about the deceased on demand in a research setting. So this is sort of our stable of mediums that we always go to, right? If you're gonna study how fast people can swim, you probably want to work with professional swimmers, right? You just don't want to go to the local pool and see kids flopping around, right? You're gonna get much different kinds of data.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we try to do. We try to find. We work with pools of people. So one of the questions we're always asked is, well, how do you find genuine mediums out in the wild, right, outside of our laboratory setting? And it's difficult. You have to get referrals. You have to understand what the medium is offering in terms of services. He's like hiring any other service provider. So you should understand what you're getting and how you're paying for it and what the refund policies are and all those kinds of things. Like you would be hiring an attorney or an accountant or a plumber, right? Like, and different mediums have different styles. So you should spend a little time talking to the medium or looking at their website and understanding what their approach might be. Because, we always say that a mediumship reading is actually a conversation between three people, right? The sitter, the person who wants the reading, the medium, and the deceased person. Okay. And all three of those things have to work together, right? It's like the three of us, right? If I'm talking over you and Ken wants to talk over me, it's going to be mayhem, right? So we all got to be respectful and work together. And if one of those things is out of sync, then the whole conversation is going to tank. And that's kind of what we found with mediumship readings as well. Okay. So it's hard. It's hard to find a good medium. It's hard to find, and you got to find one that's going to work for you and with you and all those kinds of things. I should say at this point too, that anyone who's experiencing traumatic grief and is considering getting a mediumship reading as a treatment, I would strongly suggest talking to your healthcare provider first before you do that. Mm-hmm. You may want to integrate a mental health professional into the process. So you should always talk to a healthcare provider when considering treatment options.
Outstanding. I agree on that. All options on the table, but if you're going through a pretty hard one, talking with a mental health professional and your medical provider, and then look at your other options. But good point on that. So Kyle, you had.
Yeah, so I did want to ask you because, you gave us a really good overview of like how your research is conducted and such, but what is like your normal case? So say you want to do research on this person who just lost somebody to, say, COVID-19. What would that research process look like?
Okay, so we wouldn't do a research study like that. And I'm not trying to be a dick, right? Like, so we wouldn't say, oh, what's this person going through, right? We would say, so this would be difficult, right? So for example, we might do something like, how accurate are mediumship readings for a population of deceased people who died within the last 72 hours versus the last 10 months or 10 years, right? Okay. So then we would go out and we would recruit 100 people that lost someone in the last 72 hours. Right. And those people would be consented, and we would run this through our ethics committee. And so then we would have an informed consent process. And we would never run the study because that population is way too raw. And we would never get it by IRB, Internal Review Board for Ethics. But anyway, so this is a very hypothetical sort of thing, right? So we would never study a single individual like you suggested, right? We're looking at a phenomena, and we're looking at how that phenomena plays out across populations.
So it's more of like a sociological kind of stance on that. Like you're studying a larger population rather than an individual.
That's correct. Yeah, because individuals are cool, right? We'll get some information, but it doesn't tell us all that much about the phenomena, right?
Right.
So
and you're also not looking at like a mass casualty event that you said would be too raw. 72 hours later going, we understand such and such event. Can we go ahead and sit with you? Like they said, the ethics board is not going to go for that one.
Yeah. And I personally, I think I would have some issues too. You know, it's funny. Not funny. It's interesting. We ran a study with people's deceased animals, companion animals. And, you know, when we run a study where we run a study that looks at accuracy of mediumship statements, we recruit sitters. And these are people that want to receive a reading for their specific deceased person. And we explain to them up front, like, this, you're taking part in a research program, and you may get a really interesting and accurate reading. Because this is a research program, you may also get a reading which isn't very accurate, and that's what we're trying to understand. So we need you to score this information as best you can to tell us its level of accuracy so we can better understand the phenomena, right?
Okay.
And so when we do that, and I explain this to people who have lost a living person, sometimes people will get a good reading, and then I'll be like, oh, this was really helpful and cool. And sometimes people will get a reading and be like, I don't know, this reading doesn't really seem like it's a good fit. And so I hope this is helpful for your research, right? So it's that sort of gestalt, or that sort of thinking.
Gotcha.
But when we did the exact same protocol with people that lost companion animals, when they got a good reading, the people were like, oh my God, this was so great. And I feel so connected to my deceased animal now. And I'm so glad we had this, this closure. But when the people didn't get a reading that was overly accurate for their deceased animal, they were like, oh my God, what's wrong? And why doesn't my animal want to talk to me anymore? And like they really were suffering that loss in a very profound and different way than people were when they lost a human loved one. Again, within the context of our research with our particular populations.
They didn't like their uncle very much, but they liked their cat.
Right. Well, I won't go that far, but yeah. But yeah, right.
I got family that are okay. I like my cats and dogs.
And it was really, we had to actually stop the study because we couldn't find a way during the initial process to really convey the fact that just because this experimental reading that's done under these highly controlled conditions may not produce a reading that you feel is very accurate for your animal, it doesn't mean you have a bad relationship with your animal.
Right.
It's the nature of the study. And we never found a way to convey that in such a way that it would relieve the anxiety of the participants.
They take it very personal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm sorry, I don't know how exactly I got on that tangent, but I thought it was important. So
you're good.
now you know that.
Well, and it shows you an emotional connection. Like I said, someone may have loved an uncle or whatever they passed, but you really attached to an animal, and then if you don't get a conveyed positive reading, then you start wondering, does Mr. Kibble's not taking my call? Does he not want to talk? I mean, what did I do? My uncle, that's that guy, nobody wants to talk to him anyways, right? And I can get that because people love their animals. Because I always tell people when they first get like sober and stuff, get a goldfish. It doesn't judge you. It just sits there in the bowl of water. You feed it, and it's simple.
It's nice.
Right? And just focus on that for a while before you decide to branch out.
That's awesome. Yeah, my dog is super judgy. She's a jerk. I take that back. I love my dog.
Yeah.
My wife and I just adopted these two rescue dogs back in like October, November, and like they're sisters, and they were feral, and they were in the cages for months, and we finally they've been eating our house for weeks, and we finally got them calmed down, and now one of them's name is Ada. She's named after a software developer, Ada Lovelace, and she's kind of a shepherd and a husky, and she just sits there and just like judges me on everything I do. Like, why aren't you taking me for a walk? Why is this what I'm eating? Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Nope. I have two rescue dogs that are mixed pug and something else, and we got one that was basically feral. And every time I move, he thought I was leaving him, and so we'd go on a week-long vacation trip. But now we come back, and he's perfectly like he didn't know how to be a dog. My other dog would want to play. He's like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't get it. And then now he actually knows how to be a dog. But yeah, he just kind of sits there and looks at you, and when we took him to the vet, I felt so bad.
I got it.
Yeah. But
It's cool. Anyway, so people are really attached to their pets, and the
absolutely.
grieving process for companion animals is really profound. So if I have one bit of advice to give to anyone, if you ever encounter anyone who's grieving the loss of their pet, don't go, really? Get over that, because it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. Tell somebody to get over anything is diminishing their stress, their grieving, their 5 stages they're going through. It's just a real dickhead thing.
Oh, no 5 stages, by the way. I got to stop you right there.
Oh, okay. We're not doing okay. There's no 5 stages.
So there's no stages of grief.
Okay.
That is something that has creeped into the popular culture, and if you look at any of the modern contemporary research on grief, the 5 stages are really more suggestions than anything else, and they don't really apply, because one of the problems with telling people that they are moving through these stages and these stages are in stone is that it makes people feel like they're grieving incorrectly. And there's no incorrect way to grieve.
I got you. If you're angry first and then you're sad, and then
or you never get angry, you just get sad,
and then you're guilty. You feel guilty or survivor's remorse, and then I get what you're saying, and they're like, I'm doing this wrong. Okay.
Yeah. So we stay away from the 5 levels of grief thing.
I will do that. That makes sense now.
On your website, I was reading.
That's my little public service message.
No, you're fine.
So on your website, I was reading that you were conducting a study using thermal imaging with participants who were sitting down with a medium in a low light setting. What other kind of technologies are you kind of using to do your studies, or what other kind of methods do you use for your studies?
Well, technology. Okay, so yes, we did do that study, and it was super fun. And I'm really thankful for the Parapsychological Association for providing the funding for that research, because those cameras are expensive, and I would never have been able to afford them without it. That's the other thing about this research. There's no money. The funding is incredibly difficult to find. So progress is always very, very slow on all fronts. So we really rely on donations and things like that, and private foundations for funding. Anyway, so the technology piece is, over the years, I've used just about every piece of technology you could imagine to study, not just, so for example, if we study mediums, right, we've done everything from EEG to every other sort of physiological measure. We've drawn their blood, we've looked at, to look at hematological factors, hormones, all that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
So we'll do anything to anyone that we can get by with ethically, and that they'll let us do to them. In the field, so I spent many years investigating spontaneous cases of like haunted houses and things like that in the field. And so I've used all different kinds of technologies, to try to capture paranormal events or document paranormal events, or find correlations between what I call weird technology fluctuations, or WTFs, to a paranormal event that might happen. And we've used all kinds of stuff like that. And some of the results are interesting. So most of them are pretty frustrating. I even took a lot of that research, a lot of those devices, that you would typically see on a ghost hunting show, like electromagnetic field meters or light level meters or whatever gadget we're using this month, and brought them into the lab and put them in environmentally enclosed shielded containers, and invited mediums and discarnates, what we call a dead person is a discarnate, to interact with those devices in different ways under blinded conditions and controlled conditions. And so we've used all kinds of stuff over the years to look at the phenomena, and the results are pretty mixed. The thermal imaging was cool because when there's a type of mediumship called physical mediumship. And so the mediums we typically work with that you might see on TV, they're mental mediums, right? They're connecting with the deceased through a mental communication, and then they're verbalizing that stuff. Physical mediums make a connection, but the communication is actually through physical effects that happen in the world. So like objects moving, or things called apports, which are objects that appear out of nowhere and drop on the table, or table tipping, where the table might move in strange, controllable or unpredictable ways. And so a lot of times when physical mediums work, they work in really low light conditions. And the rationale for that is that the belief is that bright lights or direct lighting can injure the medium. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not that's true. Okay. What I am here to do is respect the process of the medium and design experiments that lets the medium be a medium, right? We want to optimize the conditions for success, but we also want to optimize the controls.
Right.
So instead of like making the medium who doesn't want to work in full light, we find methods that let them work in the dark. And thermal imaging was one of the things that let us do that. So we were able to capture some really cool imaging and pictures and video that really hadn't been done before, that showed us like what everyone in the room was doing and how the medium was interacting with, in this case, they were doing table tipping. So how they were interacting with the table and how people were contacting the table after they'd taken their hands away because of heat transfer and things like that. So we were able to create a lot of interesting documentation around the phenomena that we hadn't been able to produce before. So thermal imaging is now a very useful tool, in my opinion, for studying mediums under low light conditions.
Okay. All right.
Boy, I'm way off the rails. I feel
you're fine. Like you say, when we watch the ghost hunter shows and stuff, it's the tech of the week.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I see some of these techs and I'm like, I don't have an engineering degree or things, but I can make a box beep. I can make a thing power up and what research has been done to show that this thing will do specifically what it says. And then when you go into a building that's 180 years old, lead-based paints, all these different things, and it does some kind of a squelching sound or whatever through interference. It's just, that's why I don't watch those shows, because every week it's just build up to not a whole lot. But I think, but like you said, being able to do it in a controlled environment and something like that, that was one of the questions. Have you ever had one of those oh shit moments where you seen something or something that just?
I've had a couple actually. So just to wrap up on this equipment piece really quick. Yeah. A lot of people confuse equipment with science, right? And equipment isn't science. Science is methodology. Right. So I could have, it doesn't matter if I'm using this flashlight, which you won't be able to see because you're not watching video on this interview. But, it doesn't matter if I'm using a flashlight or an electromagnetic field meter or whatever. It's how I use it and why I use it and what question I'm trying to answer by using it and what controls am I putting in place and how am I analyzing the data statistically and then how am I interpreting those data, right? Like it's a whole process, right? Not just like, oh, I have an equipment, it has a meter on it and when I turn it on, so now I'm being scientific, right?
Right.
That's not the way that works.
Or have an EMF meter with all the wireless equipment strapped to your back and a camera. And it's beeping every time it goes near you.
Exactly. Right. Oh, look. Exactly. So now, have I ever had a couple of oh shit moments? In the field, I've actually had a couple of oh shit moments. I'm trying to think about sort of the best way to describe it without sounding like a crazy person.
No, you're fine. We've had people on here before describe their moments.
So probably one of the things that was one of the moments I had, which was really creepy and weird and interesting, was I was investigating Alcatraz, which is an island prison in the San Francisco Bay. Mm-hmm. And you can go there and you can get tours, and if you're lucky, you can sign up for certain tours that happen after hours, and there are limited numbers of people. And this was a long time ago. This was maybe 20 years ago now. This happened, and so I was on one of these nighttime tours, and I was with a very small group, and we were in the upper part of the hospital area, I believe, and we were coming down this really narrow staircase, and I had a backpack over my shoulder, and I swear to God, as I was walking forward, something grabbed the back of my backpack and pulled me back. Like it just grabbed me and held me there for a second, and then it let it go, and then it let me go. Excuse me. And And I'm the only one on the stairway. I'm the only person standing on the staircase, right? And I'm like, fuck, did my bag hook on the handrail? Did I step on a strap? And no, I'm like, no, the bag is on the other shoulder. The handrail's on the other side. There's, I spent a lot of time trying to recreate that event, and I really couldn't. And when it happened, it didn't really feel like, oh, I got snagged on something. It really felt proactive. Like it was actually something that was like grabbing me and even pulling me back a little bit more than what I would expect from my forward momentum. It was a really interesting and creepy experience.
Right. Wow.
So I haven't been able to, ever find an explanation for that. Yeah. And then just other strange stuff. So this is depressing. My mother passed away in March. She lived in New York, and she was elderly, but she got very sick very rapidly and passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And thank you, I appreciate that. And yeah, there's no easy transition to this story, right?
Right.
About a month. So this was in early March, and a few weeks ago, I was sleeping and I had this crazy ass dream about my mom. And this is what we call falls under a category known as, of experiences known as spontaneous after-death communications, or ADCs. And dream ADCs are very, very common. Anyone who's ever lost someone often reports seeing them in a dream or having some sort of interaction with the deceased person in a dream. And I've lost both my mother and my father at this point, and I didn't have an ADC with my dad like that, but it was crazy. I had this whole experience where I was suddenly found myself walking through the woods, and it was this really cool place, and there was this little cabin at the end of at the edge of a lake, and I walked in, and my mom was in there, and she looked much younger than she had when she had passed away. And my mom was always an artist, and she always wanted to do more art. And this little cabin she was in was just filled with her artwork, and she was so happy to be able to create art. And we had coffee, and we didn't even talk the whole time. We went for a walk through the woods together, and then we went back to her house. And as I was getting ready to go back in, she turned to me and was like, "Nope, we're done. We're good. I got stuff to do and people to see." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she walked into her house, and the house was filled with people, and they all greeted her, and then the door closed, and then I walked back through the woods, and I woke up in my bed, and I was like, holy fuck, what was that about? It was like this crazy hyper-real experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, because I don't really remember my dreams as a regular basis. I'm not a really sound sleeper. So when I do, it's often weird. So yeah, like what did that mean? And I've always been sort of, I'll be honest about, this work. People always say, "Oh, do you believe in the afterlife?" or whatever. And I before doing this work, I was always sort of took a certain amount of comfort in the idea of annihilation after death, right? You die, it's over. I don't have to do this shit anymore, right? Like, I don't have to worry about this crap.
Right.
And then, like, as we started collecting more data, and we started interacting with more people, and we started running more studies, this idea that some aspect of the human consciousness survives somehow, somewhere, for some period of time after the death of the body, it made me kind of depressed, honestly. Okay. I was like, oh crap, I got to go through this stuff.
Right,
like, there's more of this shit to do, right? Like but it wasn't really until I had this dream very recently where I was like, wow, if that's what the afterlife is really like, that's fucking cool. No. And I'm so happy that my mom is having this experience, and I hope other people have this sort of healing experience where they get to be the thing they wanted to be in their life, but for whatever reason couldn't, because life.
Right.
Anyway, so
well,
I appreciate it.
Well, I know that we can sit here probably for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Just the way he's a crazy person.
Just a
no, you're good. No, this has been a great subject.
Incredibly fascinating subject. But I know you're a busy man, so we'll let you get going. So Mark, where can people find you?
Oh, thanks. You can find out about the Windbridge Research Center online at www.windbridge.org. And we believe that as a nonprofit, all of our research, all of our findings, all of our educational materials should be available for free. So every time we publish a study, if it's not behind a publisher paywall, we put the paper up online. If it is behind a publisher paywall, because that's the way science publishing works, we create free fact sheets that you can download. We write summaries. We do informational videos. So all that stuff is online at our website. And
awesome.
Again, that's to be a little self-serving, but we can only really do that through donations. So if you're there and you're using our materials and you find that they're helpful or healing or useful in any way, shape, or form, the stuff is all published under Creative Commons license as well. So, if you can consider making a donation to support the work, that would be wonderful. We would appreciate that because research funding is very difficult to find.
Oh, I bet.
Absolutely.
So most research is funded through the government, and NIH and NSF won't really fund mediumship research. There.
Awesome. And for our listeners, we will post the links to Mark and his website and all those research things in the description of the podcast below. So make sure you go there, check it out. Send him a donation. As he said, money is hard to come by for this, and it's important. It's important for a lot of people. It does a lot of help. But anyway, Mark, we want to thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. That was awesome. And I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, as I said at the beginning, we knew absolutely nothing when it came to this subject. So now we know next to absolutely nothing.
Slightly more than absolutely nothing. Exactly. Thank you both so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, and stick by. We are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with you.
We want to thank Mark Boccuzzi of the Windbridge Research Center for joining us on the show. He explained quite a bit about a subject we knew very little about, such as the transition from life to death and how this has a spiritual impact on the loved ones left behind. You can find Mark at www.windbridge.org, and you can check out all of his research there. The links will be posted in the description of the podcast. Stay tuned, because as usual, we have some more great content on the way. Space people. We're going to do a collab with them, dude. I'm telling you.
I really want to get a hold of this guy so we can.
My next mixtape. Because I was told I couldn't do one because the last time I did, the West Coast caught on fire. remember I dropped that mix? It fell in my pocket on my vacation. Mixtape fire, dog. and so maybe on this next one we'll do a remix. We'll drop that bass in there. We'll get like some Skrillex action going. And you know what I'm saying? It'll be bomb. It'll be some badass shit.
Should we just get a huge collab, just a bunch of people on here?
Everybody's singing Space People.
Well, that guy's going to be singing Space People.
Yes.
At least the main parts.
Because it's his thing.
I want him playing the guitar. He'll just stand right here and play the guitar.
Like, what about an acoustic version of Space People? We can do like a 12-inch version of it for a record, and we'll drop that, dude.
Just drop it like it's hot.
Drop it like it's hot. Dude.
Oh, my God.
All right.
Well, welcome back, guys. We just took a quick break. I hope you enjoyed those two interviews with Mark and Rich.
Yeah.
Continuing on with this paranormal episode. This is our life. This is literally, you guys aren't getting anything that's different from what we do in our day-to-day life.
No, the only difference is we're recording it.
Yeah.
Normally we talk the most random shit all day long.
Yeah.
Day drink and do all this stuff, and then we do this. And so we decided we're just going to put it out there for the world to embrace.
Hug it.
Like, hug the shit out of that.
Just squeeze it.
Squeeze it.
Just
like,
enjoy it.
Grab my ass when you're hugging me. I mean, don't. Don't.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
But anyway, guys, we are on to our last segment because we did things a little bit different today with the interviews, the extended interview with Mark.
Nothing against him. Nothing against Mark.
No, we're not saying
he gave us a metric ton of information.
I believe it is the proper term is fuck ton.
A fuck ton. A metric fuck ton?
A metric fuck ton.
Okay.
I do want to know the exact weight of metric fuck ton.
Oh, somebody let us know what a metric fuck ton weighs.
Do a quick Google search. I got my computer in front of me, but
No, I don't have time for that right now.
Google
takes too long. Google, you need to speed up your search engine.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have the Googs.
We should use Bing.
Use Bing?
Yeah.
No. No. You need the Googs.
We need the Googs, yeah.
I guess you got to pay for the Googs.
But
anyway, guys, so as you know, after every episode, the very last thing we do is Florida Man article. And this week, we have a Florida Man paranormal, I guess you could say, article.
It's about as paranormal as you can get from Florida.
Exactly. So, Logan, what time is it?
Florida Man!
You're damn right. It is Florida Man time.
Woo!
And so, I don't even know what to think about
We say this every time. I don't know what to think, but we know what to think.
The words can't express what I really think about
and Florida's
this guy.
too good to us. Florida's just really too good to us.
I do want to thank the entire state of Florida for giving us just amazing material.
Everything you do. And I also think I'm waiting for some other states to step up. I'm thinking, like, there's got to be something from Cleveland. I mean,
I'm sure there is. Well, Ohio. I mean, Florida is just the epitome of this kind of shit.
It is. I know. Right? It's like they all congregate down there and they go, let's do the weirdest random shit.
Well, let's take a bunch of bath salts.
Yes. It's bath salts and genetics, folks.
75% bath salts, 75% genetics. And
an address in a trailer park. I'm just going to put that out there.
Pet gators and shit.
Pet gators. Look at my leech farm. What do you need one of those for? My voodoo.
My voodoo magic.
My voodoo magic.
Anyway, Ken, what is our article today?
Okay, this one's it's in with the theme of paranormal. So we have a drug-addled Florida man, no surprise there, arrested after chasing ghosts with a machete.
You didn't hear that wrong. He was chasing ghosts with the machete.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. I'm going to question the effectiveness of this, but it's okay. So, what do we got here? So, who are you going to call? Not this guy.
Nope.
Okay, this is not the Ghostbusters. The Florida man on drugs was arrested after he started chasing ghosts around the house with a machete, the police said. Jonathan Ponce, 31, took the drug Molly. Oh, wait a minute. I'm disappointed.
Well,
not bath salts.
It's not bath salts. Maybe it's Molly laced with bath salts.
Because usually when you take Molly, you just get glow sticks and a backpack and a pacifier, and you go, right?
You just start filling the walls and shit.
Right. Okay. So, and you rub the carpet on your face. So, took the drug Molly with his 26-year-old girlfriend.
Not that carpet.
Not that carpet, though. With his girlfriend Megan Silva in Deltona on Thursday, but things took a ghoulish turn when he had a bad reaction, according to the Palm Beach Post.
Bad trip.
Bad trip. I mean, it's possible. I guess I've never taken Molly. I'm just saying. That's the one of the few that I've never taken. And
well, what did this guy... So, I'm trying to think how you can have a bad trip with Molly. I assume you can.
I think it's all based on the music. Because the only thing I know about Molly...
They didn't say what kind of music
Yeah,
they
so
were
maybe he was
to.
playing, like... And this is nothing against, like, metal.
Maybe he was listening to Space People.
No, that can't give you a bad trip. Space People is going to be the song that reunites the world after this
just on
pandemic.
loop.
Just on loop, dude. Okay. So, in his drug-addled state, Ponce thought the house was haunted, so he decided to do something about it. Unfortunately, his ghost routing efforts thoroughly freaked out his girlfriend, who left sleeping 6-year-old and 8-month-old children behind as she ran from the home. Holy shit. He must have been swinging that thing wild. When police found the couple, Silva admitted they were on drugs. And Ponce coped to slashing away at specters. They were both arrested and charged with child neglect.
So
child neglect, not the under the influence.
Well, they're probably just
they give them
specifying that. Yeah, of course they were charged with.
They're going to give them the felony first, right? And then and then to do
but
this.
Child neglect.
So
Isn't
I've
child
watched
neglect a felony.
Oh, I would hope so.
It's got to be.
I would hope so. Now, here's what I picture. I've seen guys like Zach Braggins, guys like that, and ghost hunters and all that stuff. And one thing I've never seen them do is use a machete to defend themselves. I'm just going to say that. I don't know if this is...
I don't know how well it works.
Yeah, we might have to go back to the gentleman we interviewed earlier and ask him if we were ever in a situation like that, does a machete help?
Well...
What if it's blessed?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. What if like a priest put some holy water on it?
But he can't get 6 feet,
work?
so he has to do it with a squirt gun. He's 6 feet away.
Oh yeah, he just hold the machete up like
and
that.
He just squirts it and goes by the Father, the Holy Ghost, and the Trinity. Squish. And I'm just thinking, here's what I think. If I was ever to be a police officer, it would be in Florida.
Oh, duh. Oh, totally.
Right. Okay,
100%.
Nowhere else. I wouldn't want to be an officer anywhere else, except for Florida, and not just one area. I would like to be a state trooper that can go up and down the whole state and get calls like this. And when you're talking to them, you're going, you did what? And they're like, I was hunting ghosts. No, now you're going to jail. And I'm going to confiscate all your money.
Before I take you to jail,
please show me where they were at. Show me.
Tell me the story.
Yes.
I need to hear this.
And did you get
I would keep a journal on me. If I was a cop in Florida, I would keep a journal on me, and I would just be like...
You could write a book after you retire and just call it What the Fuck, Florida.
Dude, okay. Anybody listening in Florida who is a cop or a former cop, write that fucking book.
Write that book. Or just email us at...
podcast.adultingisHard@gmail.com. Tell us some of these stories.
Tell us some of your stories.
We know you've heard some of these stories.
I know if you've gone on these calls, tell us one of the craziest ones you can without, like getting in any trouble. Maybe it's an old case. And we don't want it too dark, like a house full of bodies or anything. We want these guys who are up on the roof with a flashlight in the daytime looking for specters.
Yes.
Okay. That's what
with the machete.
With the machete.
So when the cop approached, did he think he was a specter too, or was he like, no, this guy's for real?
I really hope this guy did. Evidently, he didn't try to charge the cop with the machete.
Did he like turn around? He's like, no, I got this. This. Go away.
Yeah, no,
I got the.
It's too dangerous for you, officer. You need to stay away. I'm a professional. As he's eating more Molly, while he's standing there.
Just popping them like they're fucking Skittles.
Oh, Jesus. That's probably why he had a bad trip, is if you take too much Molly, I'm assuming. But maybe it was Molly laced with bath salts.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
It has to be, because any kind of drug story coming out of Florida has to be at least laced with bath salts.
There's bath salts.
It's not just pure bath salts, it's laced with it.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for somebody to write us and go, you're giving bath salts a bad name. And then if you tell me that, I want to know how you do bath salts safely. Not that I want to try it.
Flesh off people's skin when you're walking around downtown?
I mean, zombie apocalypse almost started there. I figured it would. That or gas station sushi. One of those two things is going to start the zombie apocalypse.
Or the dude who was poking the fucking gas station attendant with
the hot dog, on the last podcast. Yeah, that guy stabbed him in the face with the stick.
With the corn dog stick.
Yeah, and I think he was just drunk, but I'm pretty sure he was using alcohol to come down from the bath salts. Right? That's how they think. They're like, man, I'm so fucking out there on these bath salts. I got to drink a case of Natty Light, and then I need a corn dog
and a hot dog.
And if I can't
throw the hot dog at you and then poke you with the corn dog stick,
and then I'm going to get 3 hots in the cot.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to get right now.
Better than gas station.
You're gonna get 3 hots in the cot and COVID. Sorry.
Oh shit!
Thank you, Florida. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Florida, and for everybody there for doing your part to keep us with material.
Any day I feel like I'm having a hard day, I just Google Florida, man, because somebody in Florida has set a new standard for. I don't know if it's really a standard to try and achieve, or is it just a standard to try and go below. So like this guy did this, and then I wonder if somebody on the block's going to be like, I can one up that. I'm going to hunt fucking dragons with my machete, okay? I'm hunting fucking dragons.
Chasing the dragon.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
Can't catch me. You almost got me.
You almost got me,
Keep up. We're chasing space people.
Space people. Oh, man, I'm hitting that note today, dude. I'm on it, bro.
Yeah, you're just... fucking fire mixtape.
Like every time I sing that, I mean, I almost like what is it? I'm like a mix of Fergie and Jesus, right?
This is not an acoustic environment.
Thank you, Will Ferrell, for that. This is not an acoustic environment that I can really show my potential in. But I hit that note twice a day, I think.
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
You really should record that.
Oh,
we are.
Wait, we are. We have a whole studio. Maybe
any execs out there who think Ken has an angelic voice.
Yes.
You know, he'd like a record deal.
I would do it one time. I would sing country songs first, and then
like
maybe
Joe Exotic country songs.
Yeah.
That bitch Carol Baskins.
Yeah, Carol Baskins, that bitch. I'm telling you.
Well, anyway, guys, we have reached the end of episode 7. It's been awesome. And unfortunately, we got some sad news for you. Not too sad, but, you know.
I'm crying.
Still, a little bit of the. I do see a little tear rolling down the cheek over there.
It might be tear. I might have just poked myself in the eye with a corn dog stick. I'm not
corn
sure
dog
yet.
Stick. Anyway, guys, a couple things have come up in our lives. I am going to be gone for pretty much most of June. I won't be back until the last week or so.
Yes.
So the podcast, this is going to be your last episode for about a month, guys.
Yes.
I know you're crying. I can hear it now.
I can feel it. It was like it's like a million lives screamed out in pain. Oh, no, that's a Star Wars quote. Never mind. No, my bad.
But the good thing is we will be back at the end of June with bigger, better material.
Yeah.
And we will just fucking blow your mind with some
we've got
crazy shit that's going to happen.
The
over
ideas
the next
that we've
month.
talked about, we've talked about video, we've talked about a number of things, and we're going to try and implement those.
Yeah.
Because we do have to do these adulting things as it is. It's a hard thing to do, but we really cannot say no.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to adult because I signed a contract for fucking 8 years to go play G.I. Joe in the middle of the desert for fucking 3 weeks starting next week.
What desert you go? Which one are you going to?
I don't know. It's just north of Mountain Home.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of goddamn nowhere. And it's going to be like 100 and something degrees. It's going to suck.
It's going to suck.
But anyway, that's where I'm going to be.
Ball sweat.
But on the flip side of that, we are still going to be having, if anybody still has questions about our website, if you want to shoot us emails, we'll still be able to respond and do all that. We just won't have a podcast for you. You can still go to our website for anybody who's interested in any of our services that we offer, production value, or production, editing, recording, all that stuff, advertisement. Go to our website. You can hit us up there. We will always be in contact 24/7. Their phone numbers are listed there, address, everything. And then also make sure you go on to Facebook. Make sure you go on to Twitter. Follow us at
Instagram.
IsAdulting. Instagram. That one's different. That's not Is Adulting. That one is AIH_podcast.
Yes.
You can follow us there. You can watch this on YouTube. It will also be on Spotify, SoundCloud, Acast, all that good shit.
And what's our website again?
Our website, because our business partner over here forgets it, adultingproductions.com.
Thank you.
Adultingproductions.com.
Now I know how to get into our website. Okay, I'm just making sure.
Well, I'm not giving you the password.
Well, not the password. I can at least visit it, and I can pretend I'm
every
a
website's
fan.
just going to be web page is just going to be a bag of dicks on
right?
it.
Yeah. Here's a link. Well, I mean, because that's what I would do. I would just email us bags of dicks and say, "Look, we have fans."
Here, I brought you a snack. Well, anyway, guys, we are signing off for a good month because, here adulting is hard. We know that. We absolutely know that. I'm about to live it next week. Adulting is hard.
That's why we're here.
Gonna miss you. We're here to make it a little easier.
Yep.